From KREM 2, this is breaking news.
10:35 on the clock right now. We are joining you with some breaking news this morning. We have received reports of a shooting at Freeman High School. Police have confirmed a shooting at or near Freeman High School right now. This is a photo just coming in of students. It says all Freeman Elementary currently, or at Freeman Elementary currently. I am a junior, evacuated from high school, at least 4 shots.
And you can see from our shot here, these are very concerned parents, family members, trying to find out exactly, people hugging outside the school. Very, very emotional, very upset right now.
Sacred Heart just confirming there are 2 patients now at that location in stable condition. That's our first indication that we've heard of injuries in this case, but Sacred Heart confirming 2 patients in stable condition.
Spokane Fire Chief Brian Schaefer, he's standing right next to me. We're waiting to get some information from him right now.
And you can imagine the amount of emotion that is occurring right now. Many of the employees of the school, the firefighters themselves, all have kids that go here. So I apologize for the delay in getting out here, but it's a pretty difficult situation. We know that there was an active shooter inside Freeman School. The shooter, the threat from the shooter has been eliminated. One victim remains here in the school as part of the investigation and has been did pass away.
I walked right by it. I saw it myself. I kind of laughed, honestly, like, what is happening? Like, this can't be real. Heard 3 gunshots and I just started running. So.
Did you immediately recognize that they were gunshots?
Yes, because I had seen him holding the gun. But if I hadn't seen him, I would have. It sounded like someone took their binder and slammed it on the ground. Like, that's what it sounded like. So
the shooter, he was just walking down the hall very calmly, at a very passive face, and he was just had his pistol and he was shooting, and he shot one boy, and then he shot the ceiling, or in whatever order that goes. And I just remember I crouched down, and the girl next to me, she fell, and she could hear her screaming and screaming and screaming. And
he entered the school. He proceeded to take his weapons out. At that point, he attempted to fire one weapon. It jammed. He went to his next weapon. A student walked up to him, engaged him, and that student was shot. That student did not survive. He then fired more rounds down the hallway, striking 3 more students.
We're going to cancel school tomorrow, and we're going to make sure that our students and staff and families know that we've got some support services here for them tomorrow and Friday for sure as well. And just if anybody needs anything at all from us, we're available. We're here to help. And would like to just, say that, we're a very close community out here in Freeman, and people pull together, and I know we'll pull together and we'll get through this one. And we just appreciate all the agencies and the local school districts and all the thoughts and prayers from people in the community. Thank you.
We'll bring you the latest from the victims still in the hospital tonight, as well as the suspect, also Tom Sherry and Whitney Ward in the studio. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jane McCarthy.
And I'm Mark Handerhan. We are live outside of Freeman High School at this hour. It is a much different scene than it was earlier today, starting at around 10:15.
That's when parents were streaming to this school after hearing news of the shooting. Tonight, only investigators remain inside the school, but it is a day that began with gunfire. So we want to recap what we know.
At around 10:15, deputies say the shooter walked into the school. They say he had 2 guns. Investigators say the first gun he had appears to have jammed or malfunctioned, and at that point he pulled out another gun. At around that time, deputies say another student confronted the suspect and tried to stop him. The gunman, deputies say, shot and killed that student. He then continued shooting, firing and hitting at 3 more students. Those 3 victims were rushed to Sacred Heart in Spokane, and if there is any good news in any of this, it's that those 3 victims are expected to survive. As for how the gunman was stopped, it's not exactly clear, but authorities say it appears a school janitor played a role in either convincing the suspect to surrender or even took him down. That suspect now in juvenile custody tonight. Authorities say he is to blame for killing one person and wounding 3 others.
So again, the victims here at Sacred Heart ending the night in satisfactory condition. We will keep tabs on their condition all evening long and have the latest on the KREM 2 Morning News, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and KREM.com.
We are also learning more about the suspect himself. We want to let you know right off the bat, we have only named him once this afternoon, and that was intentional.
Yeah, we can tell you that he is a young male student at Freeman, but we are choosing to focus instead on the heroes in this story and the victims.
Yeah, and their names. And that is why we're not showing that suspect's face here right now. We want to be very clear, this is not about protecting that student's identity, that suspect's identity. Instead, it is because this suspect has not been charged yet, and we usually do not show a juvenile suspect's face until they've been charged as an adult.
People packed the atrium at River Park Square. They came together and held a moment of silence. Also, the Valley Real Life Church opened its doors for the community to come together, and the small Fairfield Community Church just south of the school also brought people together tonight.
They packed into the small church and sang, they prayed, and they just embraced one another.
River Park Square tonight opened its doors and people gathered and held a moment of silence there.
That's right. KREM 2's Laura Papetti was actually involved in organizing that vigil tonight, and she has more on how the victims were honored there tonight.
You know, when people walked into River Park Square tonight for the candlelight vigil that started at 7 o'clock, people were visibly shaken. It had been a very long day. People were tired, they were confused, parents had been so scared. This morning when they got the news, students had been through a crisis that's almost unimaginable.
I see the stars.
They prayed for students, teachers, first responders, and their community as they move forward through this tragedy.
Hundreds of people, not just here in the Inland Northwest, but across the country, even around the world, now using the hashtags Freeman Strong and Freeman HS. So it just shows how much support this community has tonight. Much of it coming from places that they just didn't even realize were out there.
When all of this news started to emerge on social media, the prevalent hashtag was Freeman shooting. That tide did change later today, where the hashtag reigned, Freeman Strong.
Appropriate for sure. We also spoke with Spokane County Sheriff Ozzie Knezovich. One last thought from him tonight. Parents, hug your kids tonight.
Reporting from Freeman High School, thanks for joining us. I'm Jane McCarthy alongside Mark Hanrahan. Have a good night.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to KREM 2 Morning News on this Thursday morning. I'm Brittany Bailey. We are here live at Freeman High School this morning at the scene of the tragic shooting that happened here not quite 24 hours ago. If you take a look behind me, you can see there is a small memorial there for the victim who died in that shooting yesterday, Sam Strahan, and a sign is honoring him. Obviously, a very quiet morning here outside the school where there will be no classes today.
Do you think this will have a broader impact on our entire state?
Well, I know that it really shakes all of us, and I'm so grateful for our local responders, our first responders.
The heroes in this case also went through something traumatic yesterday, and they aren't ready to share their stories at this point.
However, the Spokane County Sheriff wants to make sure those people are recognized for putting themselves at risk. Despite the tragedy that unfolded inside this high school, stories of heroics unfolded too. Sheriff Ozzie Knezovich says that starts with the young student who was killed. Sam Strahan was the first to confront his classmate turned gunman.
And that is the name that needs to go down as being a true hero. He was a hero.
With one student dead and 3 more wounded, court documents show the gunman still had a duffel bag filled with ammunition. According to those documents, that's when custodian Joe Bowen intervened, and the suspect dropped the gun and started to raise his hands above his head, surrendering to an approaching janitor who was ordering him to lay down on the floor.
And Joe confronted him, ordered him to the ground, and then held him there.
While teacher John Hayes saw an assault-style rifle on the floor near his classroom, he picked it up, returning to his classroom to secure the rifle. Meantime, the school resource deputy, who was in the nearby middle school at the time, raced into that unknown threat.
He did what he was trained to do. He ran towards that gunfire, went into that school alone, and helped Joe take that suspect into custody.
Now, his mother reports that she found a suicide note from him, and he also said he was seeing a school counselor in light of that.
So joining us now is Sabrina Botava, who works with Fail Safe for Life, which helps find resources for people who have suicidal thoughts.
When I learned about, after the fact, after I had 2 brothers die by suicide, and I learned about these warning signs and what we could do to help, it was very heavy and difficult for me to learn that. And I just think about that with the community that is dealing with this right now. If there was some sort of warning sign or something that they maybe feel like they missed, I really hope that they're not too hard on themselves, because this is not something that we just know how to do. We have to learn how to do it.
People from near and far are sending support for the family of Sam Strahan. On social media today, they're also commending Sam for doing a brave and heroic thing when he placed himself in harm's way.
Many people are calling the sophomore a hero for confronting the shooting suspect. One person writing, "Sam Strahan did a brave thing that most of us adults won't do. But for a child to approach a school shooter, you are a hero. Rest in peace."
He'd see me and he'd just give me like this huge high five, like just our thing. He just random high fives. He was a jokester. Definitely the class clown.
A GoFundMe account was created initially to raise college funds for Sam and his sister after their father died unexpectedly. And now the funds will be used to support the family through yet another tragic loss.
Well, as many people know, we usually have Tom go to a school on Friday nights. The winner is voted on each week, and tonight we were slated to go to Lewiston for a game against Clarkston. We chose tonight to go to Freeman instead. First, we want to say thank you to the schools, both really so understanding about making this switch, and both very supportive of covering Freeman strong.
Medical Lake Cardinals, you guys are class acts. Thanks you for being out here as well. For you guys at Freeman, those people out there wanted to know you guys were doing okay. So I'm going to tell them that those people there in the audience, you're doing okay. Right? Yeah. We're doing okay. We love that. Okay, Tom's Tailgate Weather. We'll be back at another school next Friday. We send it right back to you.
Friday nights, this place is kind of known as the Field of Dreams, because you don't know what you miss in appreciating a sunset over Friday night lights as you do here when the sun is setting behind the rolling hills of the Palouse. It's quite a gift.
After days of sadness,
this is home.
Families and students reached out with support, kindness, and caring. Many of those words then becoming a rallying cry. Forging triumph over tragedy. Tonight, under the Friday night lights, we honor Freeman Strong.
Just days after that tragic shooting at Freeman High School, the community decided to come together under the Friday night lights. Good evening and thank you for joining the special edition of KREM 2 News. I'm Mark Hanrahan.
And I'm Whitney Ward. It was an emotional night as the Freeman Scotties squared off against the Medical Lake Cardinals. But tonight was about so much more than football. Tonight's game served as an outlet for a community that has been through so much this week.
Before the game, both teams came together to show that this inland Northwest community is Freeman strong.
So tonight we're devoting our coverage to that Freeman community, the students, the parents, and the staff who have endured a lot. And we have full coverage tonight. First, we're going to highlight the Freeman community and the special tribute before the game.
We also have the best moments that happened after kickoff. Darnay Tripp and Evan Klosky will be joining us with a live report.
And other high school teams around the inland Northwest showing their support for the Scotties as well tonight. First, though, we want to go out to Darnay Tripp and Evan Klosky, who are live from Freeman.
Good evening, guys. All is quiet here in Rockford, but before the stadium lights went dark, an incredibly memorable scene as the Freeman community rallied together with a football game at the heart of it all. And Evan, it was the football team that made the decision to play tonight, and needless to say, so many people, I think, that came here this evening appreciative of that decision.
Yeah, leading up to the game, I mean, it's been a rough couple of days. You know, there's no sugarcoating that, but when we talked with Jim Wood, the head coach, and when we talked with a player or two, they all mentioned that the community needed this. They wanted to come back out into football. They wanted to have some sense of normalcy. And when you think about Friday nights, you think about football. And it was really nice for the community to come out and let everything go aside for a couple of hours and just enjoy a football game and enjoy the camaraderie between everybody else.
If there's any doubt about the decision, about people turning out and agreeing with that decision, it was out the door by about 5:30 when people came out in droves in a long line about a half hour before kickoff. This place was absolutely packed and they got to enjoy just a really beautiful evening here at Freeman High School, and it started with a moving tribute to the victims of Wednesday's shooting.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Freeman High School and to Kent Smith Field, proud home of the Freeman Scotties. At this time, in lieu of recent events, we would like to observe a moment of remembrance. Please take this time to pause and remember one of our very own Scotties, Sam Strahan, who lost his life while attempting to save his classmates 2 days ago. Please also remember and send positive thoughts to the 3 young ladies, Emma, Jordan, and Gracie, who are injured and are currently recovering at this time. We look forward to the day that they will walk again the halls of Freeman High School. Thank you. We have a saying here at Freeman, when you are here, you are part of the Freeman family. Never before has this been as evident as it has the last few days. Ladies and gentlemen, we can't say enough about the outpouring of support that we have received at Freeman over the last 48 hours from throughout Spokane County, Washington State, the entire United States, and even overseas. People have been calling, writing, texting, posting, and visiting. This support has been overwhelming and has helped us to stay strong and to grow during this time. Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Brett.
Thank you, fans. Thank you, family members. Thank you, Medical Lake, for your support tonight. Again, it's been a very hard week for the Freeman community, but together, we will come together. We will build new relationships. We will rebound. We will be strong. We will be Freeman strong. Thank you. And now it's time to play a little football.
And Freeman makes the hometown crowd happy with a win, taking this one 49-0. We caught up with the Scotties head coach Jim Wood about tonight's game and the meaningful experience this was all here for.
It's a little emotional, but you know, the kids were focused. They knew they had a job. They definitely felt the impact of the fans and all the support they had behind them, and I think that they really appreciated it. You know, this community needed it. I know that it was a game out there, but the strength that the community, you know, behind this team and behind everything that's going on, it's totally appreciated, and it's almost overwhelming for these guys.
If there's ever a situation where the final score really was insignificant, it's one like this. But you got to feel good for Freeman and those guys to have so much to feel good about in tonight's game, the way they performed against Medical Lake. Now, it's easy to forget that there were 2 teams, of course, that took the field tonight, the other being the Cardinals. And Wood told his players, look, they're going to go through their own emotional experience with all that is going on. They paid tribute to the Scotties like so many teams in our area will. The players wore Freeman Strong stickers on their helmets, while the cheerleaders wore blue ribbons on their uniforms. The type of display we'll likely grow accustomed to seeing in the coming weeks, especially amongst Northeast A-League squads like Freeman and Medical Lake.
Now, Medical Lake wasn't done there, and I'll explain. At halftime, all the fans from the stands came down the field and walked with arms linked across the track to wait for the teams to come out, and this line was probably the length of the entire football field.
and it consisted of both schools. That's right, Medical Lake also came in to join, and Freeman came storming out, and to their surprise, they had a lot of hands to shake on their way down to the bench. Just a tremendous show of support beyond what we already saw here tonight with the attendance and the signs and the posters. Just A-plus stuff all around, capping a wonderful night here, representing the community, and also Medical Lake joining in.
Yeah, very cool. It could not have gone any better. Just a perfect evening, perfect tribute to this community, the young kids, everything that went into it. Great to be a part of on an evening like this. A lot of great memories here at Freeman tonight. Send it back to you guys.
It's been a tough week. Tonight was certainly nice.
Yeah, this was really nice. And the support for Freeman just coming from all across our region tonight.
Schools all across the Inland Northwest are showing their support for the Scotties.
A lot of the communities come together, and to show and honor them with some respect, we ask that you please join us for a moment of silence.
Halftime of today's game, the officials of the Redskins game with Eniot also showing their support by wearing ribbons in the Scotties colors. During tonight's contest between University and Meade, the head of the cheer squad suggested wearing Freeman colors in their hair ribbons as a show of support. It was more the same at Gonzaga Prep's matchup with Lewis and Clark as spectators and officials alike showed their support, as there was also a moment of silence before the game.
And tonight's game with Ferris and Central Valley brought out a strong showing from the Saxons as the band painted their faces and also was showing Freeman and Ferris colors. The cheerleaders leading the charge again with Freeman strong t-shirts, and they gave up their red and silver tonight for Freeman blue. No question, fellow students from across the Inland Empire certainly thinking of and supporting Freeman tonight. And again, it's one of those instances where it's so much more than just a hair ribbon or a lapel pin or whatnot.
It's the thought behind it, the meaning
Absolutely.
behind it.
Yep. All across the state, also people showing their support for Freeman.
And as you saw earlier, the phrase Freeman Strong was present at high school games across the region. Tonight, schools from across the state are showing love for the Scotties. Snohomish High School over on the west side of the state showed support with multiple banners, and before the game, they took a moment to honor the Scotties.
That's pretty cool. Also in Kennewick, Kamiakin High School showing support for the Scotties with their Freeman Strong banner. Central Valley football fans also wearing special Freeman ribbons for the game. Just so many schools showing love and again using that hashtag Freeman Strong that has been trending not just here, not just in our state, not just in the Northwest, but all around the world.
It really has.
It's really special.
One thing that has really struck me this week is just our young people around this area and across the state. They're so well composed and well spoken. It's great.
Absolutely. It's been really, really special. A privilege to see that for sure.
Just like that, varsity runners from around the Inland Northwest began their cross-country race today, but with one team missing, Freeman High School.
We had given our cross-country kids the day off today because the last 2 days have been extremely hard, and the team really needs this time to grieve and to have family time, and so we're honoring that because at this point it's not about a race, it's about these kids and healing.
Without Freeman students participating, the team would be automatically disqualified. So instead, one Freeman runner made a different decision. Nolan Dollahan decided to run for Freeman.
It's hard to rationalize something that's irrational, so I just talked to my family, just talked it out, and didn't focus on the what ifs.
And to Nolan, Robin is more than just a coach. She's also his mom.
I just thought it'd be good for my family to get out here and do something, and also for my mom and just help everyone out.
And he just said, Mom, I have to do this. The football game went on, and I know that these parents, after the last 2 hectic days, need time with their kids, but I need to be there, and someone needs to be there to represent this community and this team.
So with support all around them and plenty of hugs, Freeman ran, and ran strong. It was with that support that the Dollahan family and the Freeman High School community made it through such a heartbreaking tragedy.
Every time one of my track kids and cross-country kids came to that track, it was like I've never been happier in my life. But that doesn't mean that we're not saddened about Sam and the girls that were injured. Sam's sister used to run track for us, and we are very saddened for the loss of him.
As parents rushed to Freeman High School the day of the shooting, not knowing if their child was hurt, police say these 2 women preyed on the panic. Documents say they broke into a car and stole a purse belonging to the mother of a Freeman student. One of the women, Nicole Jensen, has since been arrested and appeared in court this afternoon. Prosecutors say she has a lengthy criminal history. Court documents identify the second woman as Renee Mann, but she hasn't been arrested as of yet. Surveillance video caught the two women on camera as they carried out a shopping spree, racking up $36,000 in fraudulent charges.
Universal Athletic, located in Spokane Valley, got to printing t-shirts right away. What started as a couple hundred t-shirt orders turned into 4,000 orders and counting.
We've gotten orders from various restaurants, businesses, Spokane Police Department, people as far as Tri-Cities, and even some people in Idaho have called about it.
Newport High School played Freeman yesterday in girls soccer and volleyball, first of many teams to be wearing these t-shirts throughout the season.
As the slow-moving court process begins, the hurt from what happened at Freeman High School 2 weeks ago still lingers. Caleb Sharp is accused of shooting and killing fellow classmate Sam Strahan and injuring 3 girls at Freeman High School. As he appeared before a judge this morning, the courtroom was packed with the families impacted by this tragedy. The suspected shooter is facing 1 count, first-degree premeditated murder with aggravating circumstances.
People drive the road near Freeman. If a sign has his name, they just might look it up and find out what happened that day and what Sam did to try to stop it.
Sam Strahan only spent 15 years in this world, yet his name and his memory will likely last for generations. In the near future, a 13-mile stretch of State Route 27 will become the Sam Strahan Memorial Highway. Sam's mom told us he would be beside himself and quite frankly thrilled with this whole thing.
God, it would mean the world to him. I mean, it's huge. He would think he's a rock star. I mean, that's what he would elevate to rock star status.
Proposals to rename the highway began almost immediately after Sam died. Sure, his friends and family were touched and heartened by the overwhelming, incredible support from so many people, but they knew inside that it would only go so far.
The ribbons will go away, but we wanted a way to remember for always what it really meant to be Freeman Strong.
Well, it depends on the day. You know, I'm sure as you can imagine, you know, some days are a little better than others, but you know, overall the last couple weeks, I think you've seen, you know, students and staff start to get into some of the routines that maybe they are used to at the end of September or, you know, the beginning of October. But, you know, certainly a lot of progress has been made, you know, for our students and the staff and our parents. But you can also still tell that the holidays is a really tough time, you know, for some of our kids and their families.
Obviously, with something like this, people process on a different timeline. What do you tell kids who are having a tough day?
Yeah, you keep checking in on them, you know, daily. We're checking in on all of our students across the whole district, you know, and we don't really ask everybody how they're doing because we know that they're not doing that great, obviously, given the situation. But what you can ask them is, you know, what do you need and how can I help you? And that conversation can really start up finding out a little bit more about where people are.
The support has been overwhelming.
Also, that football game 2 days later.
Yeah.
I mean, we broadcast the first part of the game, and it was just, it was emotional in a great way.
It was.
Just watching the outpouring of support and the hugs and the smiles.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you know, it really wasn't even about a football game, but you know, there's a little story behind that. Thursday night, there was some conversation at the community meeting about whether we were going to have the football game or not on Friday night, and we had talked about a community event, and I remember a couple of our senior football players came up to me and they said, Mr. Russell, we really think that tomorrow night would be a great event, you know, for our community, and they said it has nothing to do with football, and they reminded me that, you know, you guys have always said that you're gonna make decisions based on what's best for the kids. And we feel like this would be really helpful for our community. And our high school kids helped us make that decision.
You've been with them all along the way, and I think I can speak for the community about the fact that You were a shining star above a terrible situation, and we know your heart was with everyone.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and I feel like the kids and our staff, have been the shining stars, because they're the ones that have, motivated us and inspired us. We're there to make a difference.